June 13th Morgantown Utility Board to order. You have read the minutes of the special session of June 6th and the regular meeting, May 9th. Do you have any suggestions or corrections at this point?
No.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of May 9th and the special meeting of June 6th, 2023 as submitted.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Good. Thank you, Tom. Public portion. Do we have anybody here to speak to the board? Do we have any letters that were submitted?
No letters.
Okay. Nobody present to speak. Okay, new business, fiscal year.
Okay, so the budget this year, I'll start out by saying that there will be a 3% increase in rates on July 1st, which was part of our rate our rate proposal from 2 years ago. And this is an inflationary adjustment. So we will be starting out with that on the 1st as well. That'll be for the water utility, our sewer utility, and our stormwater utility. The Cheat Lake will not be receiving, and they did not receive an increase and will not be receiving one on July 1st. This year, our budget highlights include a 3% COLA for employees. We are going to have a 15.6% increase in our PIA insurance. I want to remind the board that even with that increase, we're still saving $400,000 a year from where we were prior to going into PEIA. So it still proves to be an excellent deal for the Morgantown Utility Board.
And that's $400,000 on what it was at that time, not what it would be today on that.
That is correct.
That's sure
that
it's
is
a
correct.
whole lot more than 400 at this point.
I would imagine.
Two rate increases.
The excuse me, we've accounted for our purchase power, our liability insurance. It is estimated at 10%. We expect to see the renewals at any time. And we have just our normal expenses that we incur every year, especially chemicals. This year we're also proposing a couple different things. Installing cameras in all of MUB's vehicles. I believe we've reached that point where for the protection of our employees and for the public, I think it's an excellent idea to have that equipment so we can, if there is an accident, we can go back and look at the video. We also are intending to have a study on wage and our benefits. As we've talked about in several meetings, it has been difficult to retain employees, attract and retain, especially in our labor force. We have a high turnaround. So we felt like that we need to bring a professional in and guide us through this process to help us determine what strategies we could use to better retain employees.
Good.
A couple other things, we're going to be scanning a lot of our documents that we're storing. We have, I believe, 3 storage facilities right now.
Yes.
If you count the basement, that's number 4. And so we're really wanting to get underway with scanning documents and getting rid of paper, getting it recycled. And then we have some upgrades in our IT, which we're constantly having to do. And that would really cover all of the highlights. And certainly, Rich and Chip, if you have anything you'd like to add to that, please feel free.
You're also doing, if I remember right, you're also doing some cybersecurity updates too, right?
Yes, that's part of our IT. Yes, we'll be doing cybersecurity updates.
Yeah, we're going out for bid on those. We sent out an RFQ so we can get different vendors in here to see who would best meet our needs. We're kind of taxed with that right now with who we have on staff, and I think going out to get a company that specifically works in that area would benefit MUB tremendously.
And just so we want to remind the public that our capital improvements budget and utilization funds come from revenue that we receive. So it's important for us to have that cash flow to make the improvements that we need to make. And we do have those scheduled. We know what they are. We try to plan ahead to do that so that we don't get surprises, and neither do our customers. So that's a big part of why we put the budget together so carefully to make sure that we do have what we need to make our capital improvements.
I'd like to add too that, Chip and Pam, they've done an excellent job in putting the budget together, and the Rich and the engineering staff, they do such a great job on capital improvement planning. So it really dovetails nicely. We can see, certainly throughout a year, things will change. Things that we didn't intend to work on all of a sudden become the first thing we're going to work on. You just never know. Don't know what kind of weather we're going to have when the winter comes along. Could be brutal cold, or hopefully like this past winter, rather mild, where we don't have as many leaks and issues. So, we try to plan the best we can, but even the best made plans of mice and men, as they say. So, trucks, we do plan to purchase trucks. The dump truck that was approved 2 years ago, we're still waiting on that dump truck to be built. The big dump truck that the board approved for the wastewater treatment plant, that is currently being built now and should be available in September. But not to get too far off of the subject line of the budget, certainly if you have any other questions, we're glad to answer those. But you have all of the details in the package.
I just want to add one thing. As the resident budget geek, I really appreciate the budget, the way it was presented, the way you guys, all the work you guys did. It was so easy, which is not normally a word you affiliate with a budget. So it was easy to understand, it was clear, it was concise, it was really, 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 really well done. So I appreciate how easy you made it for us.
And the fact that we had a nice work session to go through it and ask all of our questions and make any suggestions that we felt were important to the board. So it was a very nice process. Everybody was involved, a lot of discussion, very open. And again, I totally agree with you. It presented in such a way that it made it very easy for us to understand exactly where the money is, where it's going, and what we needed to do.
Great.
So thanks.
Yep, thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the budget?
Yeah, I'll move to accept and approve the water, sewer, Cheat Lake Sewer, and storm budgets for the 2023-2024 fiscal year as submitted and explained by the general manager, with the approved budgets to be included in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, we have a second. Okay, second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you, Tom. Okay, under old business, we're back at Upper Pocono Sanitary and steam restoration. My goodness, yeah, let's go for it. Pocono Run.
Pocono Run. Well, easements have been prepared, and E.L. Robinson Engineering Company is in the process of obtaining signatures now. So we are moving forward. So very pleased with their progress.
Good, great. Westridge.
Okay, E.L. Robinson, they've reached the 50% completion of design.
Great.
So they're, I think we've received those and made comments and sent those comments back.
Yep.
Terrific. Thank you. EPA Brownfields grant.
Okay, so the Quality Management Plan and Community Relations Plan have been submitted to the US EPA. The Community Relations Plan has been approved, so we can move forward with public notification and setting up the public repositories. So we have to have hard copies. It just can't be electronic. We have to make hard copies available to the public. And so we will be working with our folks at EPA and making sure everyone is pleased of what we've decided to pick. So
Okay.
the library will certainly be one of those areas.
Okay.
So the quality management plan is still under review. Greenbrier Environmental Group, they're working on an updated analysis of brownfields cleanup alternatives, and we'll be submitting that to MUB. We should probably get that in this week or next at the latest. Once that's approved, we'll file the public notification while waiting on completion of that 30-day notification period. Greenbrier Environmental will work on the decision document. The decision document will be finalized after the public notification period. Then Greenbrier Environmental will be able to issue the bid documents for abatement and demolition. And they are preparing those documents now.
Okay, now remind us once more, what is our brownfield? Where is it?
That is our the Dinsmore
Old tire.
old tire shop,
Next to our water treatment.
treatment plant. Yes.
All right, so the public will be notified and have an opportunity to make comments.
So I would think everybody is going to be highly in favor.
I hope so.
That's not the prettiest thing to see when you drive into Morgantown.
We'd like to know it's cleaned up. All right, City of Westover.
So we are reviewing information submitted by Westover. We've requested some additional information. I believe Jeff has sent out a data request.
Yeah, I think we've gotten that through various sources. So I think from our discussions with DEP.
We had the opportunity to meet with Westover's engineer Thrasher group and talk a little bit about the projects that they have planned on Holland Avenue and the new lift station. I think they've gotten an excellent funding package now from the Infrastructure Council, which is, I think, heavy on the grant side. So that will be very positive. But I think there may be some loan dollars still out there. And we will continue to have that discussion with them and be involved.
Great, that's good.
Do we have a sense of when, if things move forward well, we might be, unless you're in a position to try to take that over?
Dave, I don't think I have a good sense of the when at this point. I believe that it would be it would really be good for the leadership of Westover to meet with the board and go through some things. And so I think there's some steps that we need to go through here.
No, that sounds good. When the DEP would like it to move forward as quickly as possible, it just makes me question, making sure everything is done in a way that we're all comfortable with.
The DEP certainly likes the idea. When utilities kind of consolidate, it's what the state of West Virginia wants to see, and I think that Westover certainly, as every smaller utility has in the state, they have some challenges. And so just like with Cheapview, the Cheapview is just, circumstances are different there with Mr. Stadden's passing, but I think that we can all agree that this will move in not too fast, but it'll move at an acceptable pace.
Thank you.
All right, Cheat Lake wastewater treatment plant and collection system upgrades.
Okay, we have submitted the application to the West Virginia Infrastructure and Jobs Development Council. We have requested a 20% grant. That's under the Economic Enhancement Grant is what that's called. And we've also asked for $1.25 million in principal loan forgiveness for green initiatives. That's part of where we'll be reducing electrical consumption, reusing some of the effluent water that the plant produces inside of the treatment plant. So these are these are subject to the review of the council and the WDA. So we're not sure, we can't say for certain that we will receive those grants or not. So they have their process to work through, but everything was received and accepted.
Good.
No hurt in trying.
Yeah.
No.
Fantastic to get that.
Right. So and I would also say this. There are no requirements here by MUB. I mean, if we're turned down, we can always look at other funding sources as well.
Which we will continue to do every way we can. Okay, high service pump house and system improvements project.
So right now, I don't think there's much to say other than they are making progress on their work. They're been in town. They're getting information. I think they're working with they've subcontracted with another engineering firm that's getting doing some field work for them. So it is moving along.
Yeah, in preparation of updating the model that they have of our system, we've provided a bunch of information that they're now plugging into the model, and they've had some requests from us to do some additional field work to kind of fill in some of the gaps, and make sure that they're modeling the right things, because since the last time this has happened years ago, there's been changes, right? We've done work, and they just want to make sure that they capture that correctly. So that's kind of what they're working on now.
So this is all about looking at what we have now and looking for efficiencies and maybe opportunities and providing advice to us for that purpose.
Yes, and as the board knows, we've had some challenges in the last couple of weeks with the dry weather, providing service across Cheat Lake in the Greystone area, and that's why Tom's on vacation. Tom was when he said, "I just won't use any water," and so we've. They will, as part of this work, they are evaluating that part of our system to make recommendations for improvement.
Okay, good.
So as part of this, as we're talking about the budget and we're talking about the areas in Cheat Lake, we have two elevated storage tanks in our system. One is at the airport and the other is at Greystone. And we have a pretty aggressive tank painting program. Every year we take on a tank. But these are really outside of what we can afford to do with our budget. And we would ask that the board consider putting those into the high service project. So it would be part of the funding package. And also we would like to begin the study on automatic meter reading. That is where we could read meters, look at reading meters through cell towers. We would be able to get that data into the office without having to send employees out. It's certainly a great green initiative because it certainly lessens our carbon footprint out there in the world. It gives, right now, we only read meters every other month.
Does that mean you'll take the meter out from in front of my house?
No, we will not do that.
Add on to
it. You should know by now, I'm pretty stingy.
Wait, you still have a meter on yours?
I think that's me, right?
Yeah, okay.
Just send your bills.
All right. That's a terrible joke.
I know. Yeah, for the record, I'm kidding.
It's not a benefit?
Go into that, yeah.
To pay extra.
Yeah.
It gives us real-time data. rather than every other month looking in at someone's meter and finding out, oh, wait a minute, they've got a toilet leak that's been
Oh, yeah.
going at 5 gallons a minute for the last 60 days. We can get information much quicker, and so.
And I don't have to be home to answer the door for the
No.
meter reading?
No, and those would be our first targets, the indoor meters. And we would want to target those homeowners and businesses first, and our large commercial customers, because it just makes sense to do those first. And then as we'd like to, we don't know what the initial capital need is, but our engineers would help us determine what would be the first good step. And also picking the right system. There are many systems out there on the market, and they would help us select, because it has to dovetail and communicate with our billing system, which is very important.
Would you foresee then, if we would be able to do the readings more often, that we would go away from the bi-monthly billing cycle to a monthly billing cycle?
I would think we would absolutely want to do that and streamline our revenues. You have more uniform coming in monthly rather than every other month.
It would be easier for customers too, rather than a big bill every other month,
Yeah.
a smaller bill.
Spread it out.
We would see some increased cost in postage and things like that, but I think it would certainly, the benefit certainly offsets that.
And so this would be a project to assess the feasibility and starting point of doing the automatic reads.
Yes.
And when would we ideally try to implement something like that and actually put it in the field?
I would hope that we could do that in 2025, which seems like a long way off, but not really.
No.
That's 18 months.
So you're gonna come back to us with pricing and?
Oh,
or you're just gonna do
absolutely,
it?
yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to open bids, and things like this would be all different contracts. So just like the tank painting, those would be different contracts from any work at the water plant and so on and so forth. So we'll have various contracts to go out to bid
Okay,
and come back to the board.
well, getting into the real technology here, which makes it much better for all of us,
Yeah.
including us homeowners who are never home to answer the door. So,
And I do ask that the board would make a motion approving.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to approve the addition of painting the Morgantown Municipal Airport Water Storage Tank and the Greystone Water Storage Tank, and the selection and purchase of automatic meter reading system and the high service pump house and system improvement project. If you'd like me to repeat that.
I second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? Hearing
Nope.
none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Office renovations, where do we stand?
Okay, so we had our presentation at the last meeting. Since then, there have been some excellent recommendations. Instead of building up, building out to the other side of the building. Omni is aware of that, but we do not have any cost estimates at this time. So they are working on putting all of that together and probably have those within the month, I would think. Maybe in July at the latest.
Okay, good. All right, do you have a report for us?
Yes, the Star City wastewater treatment plant blower. We did receive a check in the amount of $381,996.20.
Does that cover everything it needed to cover?
We hope so. We
Except
think
for
it
the
does,
deductible.
but there could be, yes, I do believe we have the deductible, don't we, Jeff? And
That amount is less than deductible.
Okay.
That was taken out, the deductible was taken out.
so, yes. But that would be for the new blower and cleanup unless we would happen to find something we did not know about.
That's a pretty quick turnaround by the travelers. That's nice.
They do a good job. Amy works with them quite a bit on it, especially on the workers' comp side, and they're very quick to respond, and they do well.
Good. And we still don't know exactly why this happened.
No, we do not.
That's still being worked out, I guess.
Imagine.
is they have hired a firm to come in and do an evaluation.
Is that Travelers or the manufacturer?
Travelers.
I would guess they'd want to know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if they're insuring a few more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
right.
a big chunk of money to put out.
We got two identical ones
Yeah,
set.
and one on the way.
So, yeah, I think that they're gonna wanna know, and that would be a lot of money not to wanna find out why
Yeah.
it occurred, so.
Yeah.
Especially if something that new.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we do continue with the tank painting.
Yes, we did have
South Park.
Alpha Engineering, they came in and conducted an inspection of the tank, and there was some additional structural work that they wanted, that they recommended that we had the painting contractor do. But what really came out of that report that's so important is that this is the last time we will be able to paint that tank. It's at the end of it, this would be towards the end of its useful life, and so probably in 15 to 20 years, it will have to be replaced.
Probably closer to 15.
Wow, so when you replace the
Probably.
tank, that's a big event because there's no storage, or you have to shift it. How does that work?
Well, we do have the twin sister there on site, but pumping, we have to take care of that with additional pumping. So then that's what we're doing right now because we only have one tank in service.
Painting,
So,
yeah. Okay.
That's a bond issue, so that's bond funding to replace that.
oh, absolutely, yeah, that's a very big tank, and we wouldn't have that in the budget.
What's the age of the current tank and what are their typical life expectancies?
I do not know the age of the current tank, but it's a welded steel tank, and so I think if you take care of them, typically you can get probably 50 years.
We're still got a decent life cycle ahead of it, but just knowing that we need to be planning out about the twin sister that were painted last year or 2 years ago. What is it similarly aged, or were they installed at different times?
Eric, I don't know. You're asking. I can only say I'm so new. I don't know the answer, but I'll tell you what. I will get the answers.
I wrote my dissertation on infrastructure funding, and I talked to a whole slew of mayors in Illinois, and in one of the towns they had an issue in that the life of the tank did not exceed
With the bond
life
issuance?
of the bonds.
Oh,
And
That's-
it was not uncommon in the state,
Yes.
in Illinois. I don't know what Illinois does different than we do, but it was
Apparently they
not
take
uncommon.
bond issuances beyond 20 years, which is foolish.
Maybe in Chicago, it's floating bodies or whatever, but but they had to go to Congress for earmarks to try to figure out how to handle that.
But we have not had that problem, nor do we intend to have.
No.
We've never had the problem where the tanks have not lived as
Tanks
long as.
outlive the bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they
I'm-
do. They do
I'm
outlive
not
the bond.
aware of any of our tanks not, living out the life of the bond. There are just factors that come into play, whether
Maintenance.
it's like anything. If you take care of what you have, and 20-year financing always sounds great right up until you see the rate impacts, and then you start making decisions on what that will be, and USDA, which we don't work with USDA on loans, but those old farmers' home loans or rural development loans now, if they didn't go out to 40 years, it would just be really unaffordable for some very small communities to have water and wastewater services.
I think that was part of Illinois' problem is they were 30 and 40-year notes, and they're trying to go prone, I forgot.
Oh,
It doesn't make a difference.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
And those are all elevated storage out there.
All right, good. Any questions at all? That was good. Got the questions answered for the most part. All right, we're at the point in time when board members are welcome to make comments or suggestions or give us your thoughts. Anybody?
I'll just say apologies in advance if I'm not here next month. Not sure yet. We're expecting child in the next hours to 2 weeks. So I'm not going to play by ear at this point if I am at the July meeting. If not, my apologies in advance.
I wasn't sure if we were going to see it today.
Yeah.
Well, you know, they say the first child comes whenever.
Yes, yeah, if it, I would hope by the time the next meeting rolls around, it's here, I think the doctors will make that occur. But,
You know, there is one requirement, you just have to choose one.
oh, absolutely.
Good. All right, well, we got our fingers crossed. We know it'll happen. All right, executive session. Do I have a move to go into executive session?
I'll move to convene an executive session of the Board of Directors under the provisions of West Virginia Code Section 6-9A-4B2 to discuss personnel matters, and further move that the June 13th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Directors be adjourned at the conclusion of the executive session.
Second.
Second?
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right, we will. Thank you, Tom. We'll break for 10 minutes and come back to executive session.